Guys, I just want to put this next to another Valorant story. This one maybe definitely not as rosy. And the headline here was Valorant will start listening to your voice chat in July. It says, in order to train a language model for future disruptive behavior reports. So Riot Games will begin background evaluation of recorded in-game voice comms on July 13th in North America in English. They said the purpose of the recording is ultimately to collect clear evidence that could verify any violations of behavioral policies. So they want to get the tech in a good enough place where they can sort of evaluate basically in real time, or in almost near real time, if people are being toxic or not. I'm summarizing the article here.
Maybe people will find this controversial, but I really don't have any issue with this at all.
Why?
Well,
what?
Because
you don't have any.
I mean, you're agreeing while you play the game, and you're playing it with a microphone to be recorded, such that they can find out if you're being toxic in the future, right? It's not like you're giving, like Riot's like, well, we're now just going to start tapping into your iPhone and we're going to hear everything you're saying throughout the entire day. No, it's like when you plug into this game, put your headset on and turn on the game, it's recording what you're saying. I don't know. Do I have a problem with that?
Because I'm playing the game, that should give them the right to everything I talk about?
Yes, while you're playing the game. If you have your headset on, you could take your headset. If you want to have a private conversation, you could stop playing the game, break out of the immersion. And I don't think that's any one of a problem. If they did this, let's put it, if they didn't tell you they were doing this, I think that would be a problem. Even still, I personally wouldn't have that much of a problem with it, but I understand why others would have a bigger problem with it. But if they tell you when you start playing the game, if you are using a voice chat, we will be recording it, blah, 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 anonymized so that we can cut down toxic behavior, then why does it matter?
Keep in mind, Riot owned by Chinese company also. Jimmy, go ahead.
I mean, if you don't have a problem with Siri listening to you and your Amazon Alexa listening to you and all these other things, I don't see how this is any different. So I'm with Jeff that it's not really a big deal here. I mean, if you're playing
this pay-to-win slippery slope.
Well, it's also their IP. It's their property. It's their community. And they have the right to enforce it as they see fit. And I think if people are being verbally abused and harassed, that's a fair justification. But I already assume that everything is listening to me. So this is truly no different.
Hold on. Can I ask you guys both a question? Because this is such a slippery slope. What if my way of being toxic is I give the finger to my screen whenever I'm upset? Should Valorant have the right to videotape me constantly while I'm playing their game?
That behavior doesn't affect others. Why would they care? I mean, I don't
know. It's just, why is it okay because I'm playing the game to listen to me? I'm curious.
Because you're talking to others in the community, and they want to make it such that the community is safe for everyone.
What if it's the four of us? What if it's the four of us playing and we know each other? So I can be completely toxic with you guys because we're friends.
It's different. You're distorting it a little bit for the sake of the argument for entertainment, which I can appreciate. But one, you don't inherently get video recorded to play a video game the way your mic gets recorded to speak and use team chat. So the middle finger inherently is just apples to oranges. But two, and the bottom line, all of it is if you're playing this game, you accept their terms and services to use their game and to use those tools. So whatever they decide is kind of their right. I mean, if you don't want to be recorded, then play a different game, But that's kind of what it comes down to.
I might. This scares me. Lindsay, go ahead.
And that's fair.
So two of the biggest issues to me within gaming are data privacy and online harassment and toxicity. And those are often in direct competition with each other, as they are in this case. So Paul, I am with you in that I think data privacy is so important. And there's a lot of things out there that aren't taking that into consideration. And I certainly hope that there's a future where a lot of companies are paying much more attention to that for a slew of reasons that are way too complicated to get into right now. I will say, if you're going to do any type of moderation by AI is the most comfortable form to me. because it makes fewer mistakes than human moderation and introduces much less bias, provided that the machine learning models are appropriately unbiased, which is, again, a whole issue in and of itself. And so I can see the benefit of this, but it makes me nervous that this data is going to be recorded and stored somewhere in a company that's owned by a largely Chinese enterprise. So like I can see a lot of benefit in this. And again, as someone who is very passionate about rooting out toxicity and knows how bad it can get, but I also, on the flip side, can see a lot of dangers within the privacy debate to this. So I really don't know where I stand or what this is like. Moderation questions are the most difficult for me to answer by far.
I mean, I don't want to go down. There's like a whole political rabbit hole here of like, why isn't free speech protected in games? Even if it's like, I also agree toxicity is horrible and all these kinds of things. But like, why is it okay for me to say horrible, toxic things and other things, but in a game, like I'm completely banned out of it?
That's that company's free speech to be able to limit what they say on their platform too. So it's free speech in all directions.
Adam says, look, this scares me. Like I would not play Valorant just because I don't know what's being done with these recordings. Like that, like you have no control once these recordings leave.
In these games that you're so concerned that they're hearing? Like, are you not just like
nuclear codes,
you know, like you know, are you having conversations with these strangers like about like deep, intimate things? Like maybe they should be, you know, censoring you. Like, what do you do? I'm confused. Like, if you're playing the game with a microphone on, you're like, hey, go around the wall, like jump over this, like nice shot. Like, what do you say? Like, what are you trying to say? Like, if you're sitting there having a conversation with your wife or something, or some private thing, you probably are going to take the headset off because you're not going to want to like do that with other people listening anyway.
This is not so much a personal problem. It's more, I worry about the slippery slope issue.
I'll give you an example. And this is one of the reasons why I'm never that bullish on ByteDance and when it comes to data privacy, because there's just a whole bunch of news this week about how they totally lied about where they store US consumer data and have been using it in their Chinese subsidiary, which is very scary to me. But on TikTok for a long time, any mention of the genocide of the Uyghur Muslims that was happening in China was totally banned and removed from the platform immediately. And actually someone went viral on TikTok when they made a makeup tutorial where she was talking, but she had all kinds of captions put up from and about the Uyghur Muslim genocide as a way to kind of skirt those bans. So I can see in cases, and particularly in countries where it's more common to persecute people who go against the government, where even if you're talking on a game and you say something that is politically not great, that you could potentially have someone come after you in some type of way, because we've seen that happen on all kinds of other social media platforms. So I totally sympathize with Paul's point. We aren't talking about like conversations that you have with your wife. We're talking about like much different issues. And there's a lot of countries that could potentially take advantage of this, particularly in authoritarian regimes.
I just want to read some of these comments.
Lessons for the day, everyone. You're all welcome.
Adam says voice chat RoboCop isn't a bad thing. So I mean, I guess some people don't mind. Adam doesn't mind. Ricky says, haha, all they have to do is listen to old Modern Warfare 2 lobbies. I mean, yeah, that can be extremely toxic. I mean, that's probably an extreme. Adam says, I'll take any opportunity to hear less of the N-word in a game's voice chat. I mean, Adam, I don't think anyone disagrees with that, right? Like anyone who plays games doesn't want that. The question is, how do you go about removing that from the game, and how invasive do you allow the game to be with your, what is essentially private data? Antonio says the angle. Antonio, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I don't know if you guys know what the reference here. Antonio, I'd love to know. Kevin says, if you're using their voice channels, sure, they own it, but you can still use Discord, which I think is what most people do, right? At least that's what I do. So you're right, Kevin, that's a good point. There are relatively easy ways to skirt the system. Now, I know Valorant's anti-cheat, though, runs like at the kernel, like at the operating system level. So I don't know if they can still record everything, even if you're talking on some other platform. But I assume they couldn't ban you for it if it's on Discord. Adam says, but if you have a problem with it, just don't use the game voice chat, #Discord. Yeah, I mean, you guys literally on the same wavelength. Matt says, Jimmy's right. Everyone has a cell phone, so they're already being listened to. Who cares if Valorant does it too? I mean, I get it, but this is kind of a weak argument. Like, just because we have no privacy and all these other things, we should just have no privacy anywhere else. Matt says, if we want to make the gaming community more inclusive, I feel like this helps achieve that goal. No question. If we reduce toxicity, it makes gaming more inclusive, and that's a good thing. Lindsay, I think, made a great point, though. These things are at odds a little bit with each other. They are competing. Antonio says, what if you say something crazy about China, then you take the trip to China? Will that be used against you? I mean, in theory, it could, right? Like, in theory, all of this is possible, which maybe scares you, maybe doesn't. Matt says, this makes gaming a safer space. In some ways it does, Matt. I don't disagree.
Well, on that, I actually have to run because Paul moved this time before I could move all of my doctor's appointments. So
this was your topic, Lindsay. This was like your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Heading out early. Bye, everyone.
Everyone say bye to Lindsay.
Bye.
Kevin says,
this from Kevin.
If my mic is not functioning through their game and they still record you, that's a huge red flag. I think technically they can.
If we're talking about the slippery slope, that's where we start to get concerned.
Well, I mean, a lot of people were concerned initially with the anti-cheat, right? Because it ran at the operating system level and it's always running. Like, if you install Valorant, their anti-cheat is always running in the background, even if you're not playing the game. And it has access to all of your system resources, like to everything, mic, camera, inputs, you name it, which I think scared a lot of people initially. And then they had to sort of play this game of like, no, we're not actually monitoring you. It's just for anti-cheat and it has to run at that level so we can catch, the certain kinds of cheats and things like that. But it is a slippery slope.